welcome to tonight's episode of the Group Therapy Podcast. Today we have comic book artist. I guess you've drawn some cartoons.
I've drawn cartoons, yes.
Yes. Rodney Fyke. I did not realize up until relatively recently how long I've known you.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Yes. So, Rodney, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, hi everybody. I'm Rodney Fyke. I have been in and out of the independent comic business for the better part of 30 years. Started with company Imagine Productions, which was our company. We did a black and white superhero book called The Superior 7. We published 5 issues of that. We did probably 9, but only published 5. And then we got into the coloring game, and we colored comics for other people for about 7 years. And then everybody did the grown-up thing and got married and moved apart. And I went and got the dreaded day job. Ended up landing a role as an inking assistant on G.I. Joe for a year. And then worked in a factory for about 9 years until I blew up my back. And then, which was kind of a blessing and a curse, because it got me back into drawing because I couldn't do anything while I was healing after my surgery. And that's when I met my wife, Tina. And gradually, I was telling her about my heyday back in the 90s. And we gradually got back into the comic business. We formed Hasm Productions in 2009. And we launched with Peanut Pudding and Jelly, which was our flagship title at the time. It was a semi-autobiographical book about my brother and sister and I as kids, believing that we were actually superheroes. And it chronicles the tales of that. We did 6 issues of that. We have a trade compiling the first 4 issues, and then floppies of issues 5 and 6. And we also have, as you can see in the background there, Roadkill Rampage, which we will be launching a Kickstarter for issue 2 on October 20th. And we also have Pitter Patter, which we are currently fulfilling the Kickstarter on issues 1 and 2 of that. We've got them in the mail. We're putting together the packages. So those will be going out very soon. And in between, I've done various other things. I also have a book called Unchained. It was a one-shot that we did. And we re-released it with an additional backup story in that. So that's available, but it's just a one-shot. It's not an ongoing thing. So that's what I do. I do all various kinds of freelance work, inking work for folks, coloring work. I'm constantly dabbling.
Yeah, like I said, we were talking about that. I was like, you have one of my fan letters that I wrote.
Yes,
because I loved Superior 7 when I was I would say when we went, but I was 17 maybe when I found that and 17, and I fell in love with that. I used to run into you guys at, I think, either the Jubilee shows or the shows over in Indianapolis and down in Cincinnati and stuff.
Shows.
Every show I do is I'd pick up a new issue. I have all of them. I have like 1 through 5. Now that you tell me that there exists a 6, 7, 8, and 9 somehow.
Well, in various stages of production.
That makes me want to go, who has those, and can you get me digital copies?
Okay, well, let me tell you this. Let me tell you the tale of woe to a certain point. Dion left. Dion Knuckles left to go pursue other aspirations, and we were going to replace Dion with Greg Land. And Greg Land actually did issue 6, and I have the completed thumbnails, and I have 17 pages penciled and inked. But then he got hired by CrossGen.
Ooh.
So, and it was sudden, and which we were kind of cheesed off about. So he left suddenly, and I don't want to say it was a bad break, but we ended up not being able to publish the book.
Ooh.
So that was issue 6. And then we did the Savage Dragon crossover that actually got done, and Dion did the artwork for it. But there were some discrepancies in the script. He didn't follow the script, or I don't remember exactly what the detail was. So we had a second artist, Matthew Martin, redraw it. And then our financing fell through. We had a backer that was going to back us, and then that fell through. So we couldn't go through with publishing it. So in the meantime, while we were producing the Savage Dragon crossover, I was trying to find people to replace Greg, and I would get 6 pages of a story here and 6 pages of a story there, and never found that one consistent person that was of the quality or level that I was looking for to continue on with the book. And then we started getting a lot of work coloring, and so we were making more money coloring than we were producing the books. So we just started coloring, and then we got a client out that was based in Pasadena, called AOCOM, Alpha Omega Communications, and it was a religious book. It was all about it was called Angel Wars, and we worked with him exclusively for 3 years. He wrote the books. We developed the characters. We worked with Clint Holinsky, artist out of Minnesota, and I was let's see, I inked the first issue. I was a talent coordinator, so we went out to San Diego, and I found a couple of artists out there. They were all in line for portfolio interviews and for image. Just like two rows of guys sitting in chairs with their portfolios, and I walked through and was like, let's see, I'll take him and I'll take him. And I stopped, and I had my business cards, and I introduced myself, and I ended up hiring 2 of the guys right there on the spot. And the one guy was the artist for Angel Wars. Well, it was going to be a second book called The Illuminati, because Clint Holinsky did the first. I think we ended up doing, 2 issues, colored, pencil inked, colored, and I colored. Me and Doug Kramer colored everything. But the guy that owned the company, he set aside X amount of dollars for it, and he had hired a couple guys over in Europe to go to all these book fairs and stuff and research. He knew nothing about the comic industry, and he wouldn't listen to us because we weren't college educated. So he was roped into believing a couple of guys across the pond that were feeding him a line of crap, and they basically duped him out of all his money. So company went, belly up, and none of that stuff ever saw print. So almost 3 years of work just.
I know how that is. I got hired years ago. I wrote like 6 books, and I don't think any of those books ever saw the light of day.
Yeah.
I picked up with like issue 2 of one book and stuff like that, and the guy put all of his money into the first, I think, 2 books, and basically blew all of his money, and nothing ever. I never saw a penny. Never got nothing out of it. But
yeah,
it is what it is, I guess. Learning experience.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And we did a lot of coloring work for a lot of people, and thank God for AOCOM, because Doug and I were able to quit our day jobs and just work exclusively in the studio for a long time. And during that time, I was trying to pick up. I did a lot of work for Boneyard Press, Art Fisher, Checker Comics, which was up in Dayton. Did some work with them. Lightning Comics.
Oh, out of Michigan.
Yeah,
because they did. Bloodfire.
Helena.
Yeah.
Double Impact. Creed.
Yeah.
I had an issue 1 of Creed. There are 3 pinups in the back that I colored. Did the letters page, designed the graphics for the letters page for that, and we designed a lot of the ads for Lightning Comics in the back. They had the buttons, the Helena buttons and stuff. We designed those. That was all us. So I did a lot of stuff, but my love was always Superior 7, but it just wasn't meant to be, I guess.
When I was moving from my house before I moved to this one, I found a piece of artwork I got off of somebody. I want to say, of course, it was at one of the Dayton or Cincinnati or shows or whatever. It's from when you guys were pushing Freak Force.
Oh yeah.
And I know this is why you were going to have the crossover with Savage Dragon, because he wanted the rights to Freak Force for the Freak Force. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys had the rights to it beforehand.
Yeah, and he was so cool about it. He sent us a letter, and I called him, and we talked on the phone, and he was very, very cordial. And he was like, I just don't want to mess with, lawyers and all that stuff. He's like, how about what do you say we do this? You guys change your name, and I'll let you guys do a crossover with Savage Dragon with your Superior 7 guys. And I was like, okay. So we renamed the book Project Metaforce.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that we hired to do the artwork, Jeff Wesley, left and went and replaced Gary Barker, who was drawing Garfield at Paul's. So Gary left, retired from doing that because he'd been doing that for a couple of decades.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff Wesley replaced Gary on Garfield and couldn't draw our book anymore. So at least we were losing them to good projects.
Oh yeah.
So I had hired another guy. His name is John Aboigby. He's here in Cincinnati now, but he's from Baltimore. His father was some kind of an art teacher or professor at UC, and he's a sculptor. And he's a phenomenal sculptor. He does sculptures for Black celebrities. He's done them for Bill Cosby and Denzel Washington and, A-listers.
Mm-hmm.
So that was his father. And John, we hired John to replace Jeff. And I've got the pages. John ended up doing 2 issues, almost 2 full issues of Project Metaforce. But when our financier fell through, we could never see those through the light of day. So I moved all that stuff over here to the studio a couple of years ago, and I was flipping through it, and I'm like, man, this book would have been fire. It was so fast paced, and so you remember how the Superior 7 was.
Oh yeah.
So in your face, and so just action. And this was going to be another book, both different characters of the same ilk, and then they were going to cross paths.
Well, like I said, I remember when you guys were pushing Freak Force or trying to.
Yeah.
And like I said, I got the piece of artwork, and somebody was doing the coloring on it, and it's literally half colored somewhere. It's in my collection, boxed away somewhere. If I'd had time, I would have dug through and found it. So we did. Actually, same way with the Superior 7s. But when you have, I don't know, I'm probably 300 boxes of books.
I'm going to turn around and let me see if I can find something real quick.
Okay.
That bio character folder. He sees it. He's going to recognize it. There's one shit down his leg. If I can find it.
I've got the last one I remember seeing when I was putting books away. Is the guy coming up out of the ground? He's got his arms like in a V, and he's coming straight up. I think it's the last issue. So I think it's issue 5.
Okay.
And of course, it's all signed. It's got everybody's signature on it, I believe. So, and I don't know if this brings up any bad. Oh yeah, Imagine This Productions. Yep. Didn't Dion go on to work for Kenner?
Yeah, he went to Hasbro.
No, Hasbro. Hasbro. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was one of the guys that they moved up to Rhode Island. And I remember I was actually working for Kinko's at the time, and he called me, and I was delivering. I was a delivery guy, so I would deliver stuff down to Kinko's. I worked at the Hyde Park store.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me, and he's like, Rod, he says, man, we got these people in from Japan this morning, and they made this big presentation. We got to do all these little tiny characters. He said, they're so stupid looking. He said they're called Pokemon. He said, and it's all the rage in Japan, and they're bringing it over to the States, and we got to do all this artwork for it. He said, and it's so boring.
I could totally see that, because them first batch, my kids loved Pokemon, and them first batch, they're so basic. There's not really a whole lot to them. I could totally see that being boring.
It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, this stuff is crazy. Yeah, there's a whole issue. Aaron Locke. I don't know if you don't know Aaron Locke, because he didn't like the spotlight. He did almost 2 issues for me. Oh, here we go. Hang on a second. Gary Barker colored this in a hotel room in Chicago. We were drunk as skunks.
Yeah, I have that.
Yep.
And mine is
Garfield down at the bottom.
Yep.
He says, color.
I want to say it's 2/3, so I don't think the big B guy in the background is finished on mine. Okay. Or if he is, he's partially finished.
So who was coloring it? Was it me or Dion? Or Chris? Do you remember?
I cannot remember. It's shoot, I think that's BT. I think that's before Tina. That's got to be before my wife.
Wow.
So yeah.
There you go.
Oh geez. That's great.
Woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Hey, I literally have artwork from my unfinished comics too, so I don't. Except for I have the rights to it. I know who has the other artwork, so I just got to get together, and we actually got to get somebody to publish it. So, and it's only part 1.
What's it about?
Mine's called Doc Haxon. It's a Hellboy meets Doc Savage.
Ooh.
And the worst part about it is I wrote this a long time ago, probably 2001, 2002, the original draft for it. And one of the weapons in the book is the cursed gun that Robert Ford used to kill Jesse James. And then shortly thereafter is when they introduced the Winchester, on Supernatural, and I'm like, except for mine doesn't just kill demons, you load it with spells.
Okay.
And it's cursed, so you have to use it for good, and if you don't use it for good, then you become cursed by the gun, so you become the coward, you start stabbing people in the back and stuff.
Oh wow.
I have all these scripts written because it was going to be in four-part story arcs. So it was going to be the first part, which is the Doc Haxon and the Big Box of Evil. I can't remember which was the second one, which was Doc Haxon and the Infernal Hell Machine. Then it was the Medusa Project, and so forth and so on. And it was going to introduce mythology. It was at the beginning, so it took place in the 1930s. So, like the Infernal Hell Machine, what it is that the Nazis think that they figure out how to make an atomic powered robot, but instead they don't. They create a parallel dimension, so it opens up, so it feeds this demons into these giant robots. So they're demonically powered robots and stuff.
Nice.
I have a Bible I wrote for it. I have all the characters created. Matter of fact, Jay Cordray did I want to say he did all the artwork for the first story arc. And so the first issue of the first story arc, I should say. And then I have in my shop on my back wall, there is the last page for the first issue. So I have that hanging on my wall at my shop.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I'd like to see some of it, man. It sounds like some great stories.
Oh yeah, it's legitimately a book. I started writing one night because I had a job where I just sat for like long periods of time and watched the machine run, and I just started jotting down everything.
Too, huh? Machine shop?
No, I put glue on paper at the time. So, and then then I hurt my back, which then I left there and I did a bunch of odd and end jobs, and then I got a job working at a hotel, and then I wrote it at the hotel because I'd set for hours where it was just by myself, and I just
Right.
kept writing. Now I have, if I dig through, I probably got like, I have all the Doc Haxton floating around here somewhere, I think, in physical form. The actual like PDFs are long gone because I think that computer gave up the ghost years ago. And I'm a guy who writes everything on, I mean, every note I take for every project I work on is in, notebooks like that.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would love to have actually ever get my work done, but it's one of the ones where it's a side project. If it ever happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Right.
That's
cool. And what's the name of your shop?
Are You Game?
Are You Game? And you're in Pickwa, right?
Yeah, I'm in Pickwa. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I am
Right.
at 124 North Sunset Drive, Pickwa, Ohio.
124 North Sunset Drive.
Yep.
I have to come up and check that out sometime.
Yeah. It's I just spent all day today rearranging stuff. I was a little slow, so I decided to rearrange part of my store.
Oh, nice. Hey, it's yours. You can tinker if you want.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm in the process of starting to look for a bigger building too. So I've outgrown my shop badly like 2 years ago.
Wow.
So like,
okay.
Yeah, I have.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. It's great. I mean, I got the clientele and I have the product to fill the store. So now I'm just looking for a bigger storefront that I can still make money off of without spending all my money to have a store. So
right. Yeah.
But
the ever-present problem for shop owners.
It's that storefront that will kill you, Well, actually right now it's getting your comic books not damaged.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, shipping's been fun, hasn't it?
Yeah, we got our second week of Marvel through Penguin House.
Yeah.
And I believe probably 3/4 of our books were damaged.
Oh man.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. And it's it's a big week. It's the final issue of Immortal Hulk, which is probably my favorite Marvel book right now. And I can't read it because it's crushed.
Oh geez, that bad?
Well, I could probably sit down. I'm staring at the pile and I'm like, man, I'm just gonna go ahead and pull the crap books out because they want you to take pictures, all this stuff of the books to send them to them. So those are all sitting in a pile to be photographed that have all been photographed and then sent to them. And then we got to wait to see if we can get our, damage replacements.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Feels like back in the day when Marvel left the first time and then they went back.
Yeah. Jesus. That sucks.
Oh man, it's horrible. At least Diamond was getting on the ball about not having crushed books because they got new boxes and stuff where they don't get crushed as easy.
Yeah.
So so you have a new book coming out before we get too sidetracked.
Yes.
Go
ahead.
Roadkill Rampage.
Yes. It's the second issue, and we're launching a Kickstarter for it on October 20th. And let me give you the rundown for it real quick. It's let's see, Roadkill Rampage issue 2 picks up. It begins with Tess still in the forest, but now she's all alone. And Tess is the main character in the book from issue 1. While she's in the forest, there are a few new men that come into her life, but are they friend or are they foe? Along her path, she stumbles upon a dog fighting ring, and being the animal lover that she is, she's bound and determined to shut it down or get shut down in the process. Throughout the issue, Tess becomes aware that she's being followed by some kind of a black, dark evil, some ethereal black mist. She's not sure what it is, what it wants with her, but it's pursuing her through the forest. She just knows that it's not good. deep in her bones. So that's kind of what the issue is in a gist. And it's a, I want to say it's Pet Cemetery meets Cujo meets, it's a lot of, when I write the book, I'm thinking of like Jeepers Creepers, and and of course my favorite is Halloween. So it's the damsel in distress. It's Laurie Strode, in the forest, and she's trying to find her way back home after the events of issue 1, and of course there are pitfalls all the way through, and she doesn't know what the hell's going on and why it's going on. So we get a little more, we peel back the end a little more in issue 2, reveal a little more, but we raise more questions than we answer. So I am currently, the issue 3 script is done, but I have to go back and give it one final go through before I give the script to the artist, Sean Langley. Really good artist from Gallipolis, Ohio. He's the artist on issue 2, and he's going to be doing 3 and 4 for us. Amon Hill did the issue 1 art on issue 1. So it's a pretty fun ride. A lot of scary, gory stuff. So come along and hop on the Roadkill Rampage train and ride it with us through the forest.
Now, can you still get issue 1?
Yeah, you can get issue 1 on the Hasm website.
Okay.
Along with all the other Peanut Pudding and Jelly and Pitter Patter. They're all available there, along with Unchained and Arcana, which is Amon Hill's book. I believe that's still available on the website. Maybe. We're no longer working with him, so I don't know how long that book is going to be up there, to be honest. But yeah, so yeah, if you want issue 1, you can go to the website. You can order it there on the website, or if you see us at a show, obviously you can buy it from us at a show. We are done with shows for the year. Decided to kind of play it safe, because the whole COVID thing, and winter's coming and people get sicker in the winter, and we don't know what it's going to do. And so we kind of chose to stay closer to home this year. So we only really did shows, within a 200-mile radius, probably 150-mile radius. So the furthest we went was Huntington for Tricon. We did Columbus, Lexington, Cincinnati, and we might do a couple of little local things here, like some breweries or stuff like that, or we're doing a Christmas walk here locally. But we're going to spend all summer or all winter working on books. So when 22 rolls around, the 22 season rolls around, we have even more books. We've got issues. We'll have issue 2 of Roadkill, and hopefully by the time convention season kicks off next year, we'll have issue 3 under our belts. We'll definitely have issues 1 and 2 of Pitter Patter. Start writing the script for issue 3 of Pitter Patter. So the goal is to be productive in the winter time. But yeah, definitely come watch we're gonna have a little launch party on the 20th. So come check that out. And we put the link for the notification of the Kickstarter. Can we do that here?
Yeah, should be able to.
Baby, can we do that?
What? I'm not listening to you.
Can you
if not, I can put it at the end, because when I put the credits and stuff, I can you can find Rodney and
okay.
Productions and I can put all the information at the end.
The link for the launch party,
I think it's on my
kickoff.
Did you get it to me?
Just send it to Paul. He's going to put it.
Yep.
Put it
all
up.
right.
Cool.
I think I got it on my phone here.
Thank you. Excellent. That'll work.
There we go.
It's fun. Writing horror is fun.
Oh yeah, I love. Well, you know what the worst part about it is? I probably people probably on my podcast are tired of hearing me say this. I had wrote a horror movie going into last year. I was supposed to shoot it last summer,
Oh,
So
wow.
2020, I was supposed to shoot it. I had started casting it and everything, and props had been built and all this stuff like that. And then COVID hit and shut everything down. And
Oh,
while
man.
I'm sitting at home, doing nothing for 3 months, I ended up watching a lot of TV, a lot more than I normally watch. Normally I watch about 16 hours a day, so it's probably putting in about 18 to 20 hours a day. And I watched a movie that had a lot of the same like plot points to my movie, so I was like, crap. So I just trashed almost the entire movie, rewrote it, and now it's just setting in a, and then I moved, so I don't even know where it's at. It's in a notebook somewhere. And everybody who I've told the story to has loved it so far. I had people cast. I have people who will come back if I start shooting again.
Yeah.
But it was one of the ones that was so disheartening that I was that close again to making a movie, and it all got kind of crapped on.
So do you have equipment and all that stuff to make a movie?
You don't have to have a whole lot of equipment anymore.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some really nice cameras. I have the editing software. I have, like I said, I have a garage that I can make props in. I have places I can shoot. I got people that can do special effects for me. I have all that fun stuff, and it kind of, like I said, it was so disheartening to get that close, because literally that's like the third movie I've wrote that I've gotten so close to working on.
Yeah.
And then the bottom drops out and everything else like that. It just kind of, it hit me hard, and I was like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna, it might see the light of day as a book eventually. Because I think it'd make a great comic. But I don't know if I'm gonna make a movie now, because I started really like busting butt on the podcast and stuff when all this stuff hit.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm building and building and building and building. I'm not one of them guys lucky enough that like on their third episode, they suddenly jump like to the top of the line. I'm like, dude, every episode I get a few more people. Then I do my other show, which is I do a Saturday morning cartoon show where I'm the host.
Oh, wow.
I air it on Saturday mornings from 8 a.m. to about 11:30. I go through and I find all the cartoons that YouTube will allow me to use. I put old school commercials back in them. I come in, I give you little tidbits of information about the episodes and about the creation of the episodes and whatnot. And yeah, that's taken off. That's going through the freaking roof. I mean,
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, I do.
Send me a link.
I will. It's I do like usually in about the first week I get about 1,000 views per, and then I use that as a commercial now for my other show that actually predates the Saturday morning.
Oh, yeah. Build on it. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and I have fun doing it, and it's I'm finding cartoons that I thought, like I had one that I forgot that I thought didn't exist. I thought I thought I remembered it, but it was one called Meatballs and Spaghetti.
Okay.
And it's basically making fun of Meatloaf and like Sonny and Cher. It's this musician who's an overweight guy, and his skinny wife, he's Meatballs and she's Spaghetti. They tour the country, and I found one episode out of 26.
Oh, man.
So my goal now is that I know somebody out there has a VHS tape of Saturday morning cartoons. So every episode, I'm like, if you have any of these episodes, like Turbo Teen, do you remember Turbo Teen?
Vaguely.
I've found 7 episodes of like 13.
Wow.
And I think I found up to 9, but like 2 of them are in German. Because it was big overseas, but not here in America.
Huh.
But yeah, I put it together. I put cartoons together. It's mostly 80s, but there is some 70s and some 90s. I come up, I set my little area up over here. I come down and talk cartoons for my is about a half hour. So if you can deal with me for a half hour, you can get about 4 hours of cartoons in there.
That's awesome, man. I gotta check that out.
Yeah. And it's funny because I didn't think anybody would care about me. I thought, somebody's just going to be like, oh, get that stupid guy off there. Just, we want to see the cartoons. And now I'm like, people like, we love the host. I'm like, I feel good about myself. Yeah.
They liked me. They really liked me.
Oh,
that's great.
Not like being an old man telling people to watch cartoons is what I tell people.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Every Saturday at the shop, that's what we do, man. I put cartoons in the DVD player and they run in the background.
Oh, that's great.
Oh man. I know this is bad. I got to go back to Superior 7 because I loved that book. And if you don't want to talk about it, you just tell me and let me know.
No, that's fine.
It was really cool because I think the first issue, if I remember right, is like splash page and it's like Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah.
And that was so cool for a kid from Ohio because,
that's why we did it.
Yeah. And it's like, oh my God. It was fun seeing, something take place in Ohio.
Yeah.
And then now years later, was it Jeff Johns did 2 books that take place in Ohio and one takes place in Piqua.
Well, all of the Marvel stuff takes place in Ohio now, the movies.
Oh yeah.
Somewhere in Ohio.
Yeah. They all filmed in Cleveland and Cincinnati.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah.
It's what sparked that was I was such a Marvel zombie when I was a kid. And I read Wolfman and Perez's Titans.
Mm-hmm.
I read Firestar, I read Batman the Outsiders, Amazing Man. And I didn't like that they weren't real cities. I mean, I knew Metropolis was basically New York, and I knew Gotham was basically New York. But I liked Spidey swinging through Fifth Avenue or swinging through Central Park and the landmarks and stuff, and I liked that. So that was a huge influence. And when we sat down to do it, I'm like, okay, we said we're going to do it. We're going to base the team in Cincinnati, and we're going to have landmarks. When I was in high school, because we started this, it was my junior year of high school, so it was September of '84 was when Dion and I met Chris in art school. Chris was only at Cole. We all went to Coleraine High School, and Dion and I were juniors. And Dion and I had known each other since junior high. He was a big bad artist at Coleraine Junior, and I was a big bad artist at White Oak Junior. And then both schools merged into Coleraine Senior. And Chris was the new kid. He went to South Dearborn. He lived in Friendship, Indiana. And nobody knew who he was. We were sitting here talking about the New Mutants, because Sienkiewicz had taken over the New Mutants. We were talking about that, and we were talking about Moon Knight, moving from Moon Knight to New Mutants. And he was sitting there, and he goes, well, the New Mutants are cool, but Thor would kick all their asses. So we all just kind of looked at him with our mouths hanging to the floor, like, well, who the hell are you? And from that moment on, we were just inseparable. And we would sat in that art room. If we weren't in that art room creating, we were at the kitchen table at my house creating. And Dion would come in with loose leaf paper with a character on it, like rat paint. He came in with, it was just a drawing of him walking. It was a profile of him walking, and he had a beanie hat on, and he was smoking a cigarette, which I thought was odd because Dion was very straight laced. But he handed it to me, and I was like, "Who's this?" He says, "I don't know. His name's Rat Paint." I was like, "Okay." So I took that drawing, and Chris and I came up with the backstory for him. And Mass was the same. Mass was just a headshot. He did a headshot of this character on a piece of paper, and no name, no nothing. And so I came up with the name of Mass. We did a whole backstory on him. And that's, like Battle Ram was 100% my character. Dion came up with the visuals for Blackwing, Ratbane. Chevron was a friend of our Tony. Tony gave it to us, told us we could have it. He has since passed away. And Sloth was Chris's character. White Eagle was Dion's character. So we all had characters in there, but Chris and I came up with all the backstory for all the characters. And then Chris joined the Marine Corps out of high school, so he was gone for 4 years. And Dion and I went to the ACA College of Design in Cincinnati, and I had worked on the Star Wars saga while Chris was in the Marine Corps. I wrote the entire thing, and when Chris got out of the Marine Corps, I got the band back together, and I said, okay, we're going to do this. And I showed them what I had, and they were all like, whoa, what the hell, man? And we did it. We knocked it out. We made every mistake you could make doing it, but we did it. And it was one of the most rewarding parts for us was that the kids coming up or the adults coming up and saying, wow, you guys are just a bunch of knuckleheads from Cincinnati, and you didn't talk about it. You didn't just talk about it, you're actually doing it. And that was really cool, because we didn't realize at the time how much influence we had on Josh Blaylock.
Oh, yeah.
I've got fan mail from him. And John Larder, John and I are still friends. I mean, Josh and I are still friends. John always tells me, you guys really, really, influenced a lot of people. You might not realize it. He said, but you really did. And then when I stumbled across your letter, and I'm like, oh shit, is that Paul? That's Piqua Paul?
Yep, that's me.
I'm like, oh my God.
When you sent me that, I was like, I had to look. I'm like, that's my horrible handwriting. I'm just like, oh my God, that is, and I'm like, holy crap, that you guys kept that for that long. And like I said, you guys, Superior 7 kind of like stuck with me a lot when I was a kid. Like I said, I still have mine. I have all the signed ones, everything. And mind you, I've lost everything over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to sell off my collection a couple times because I had, when I hurt my back, I was off work for about 6 months. So, no money coming in, you start selling off your stuff till you get your money.
Right.
I went from like 40 boxes down to 4. I kept them Superior 7s, stuff like that.
Been there.
And here's the thing. Your first issue inspired a book that I wrote with my superhero team I created called The Elite. It's funny because this predates DC's Elite, DC Justice League Elite and stuff like that. My first issue took place in Cincinnati. I had the splash page with Cincinnati, Ohio. It took place. I doubt they would have allowed it, but it was going to be during a Bengals game. And, basically going to be the Cincinnati football team. You weren't going to see, the logo or nothing like that. But that's where it all starts with my book. It was going to be Cincinnati, because it was basically the team was based out of Wright Pat. I had all this because I'm from here, so I wrote what I knew. And
right, exactly.
So yeah.
I have a box of all of the fan mail we ever got, and I still have every piece.
Wow.
Yeah, all of it. And we got mail from 5 continents.
Ooh.
Yeah, Australia, West Germany, Europe, it's all over. And I've still got it all.
That's even more amazing that you have all that, and you still found my letter. It is just dumb.
But what it was is it was in a notebook of stories, and I think I was going to respond to you, and I don't know if I ever got around to it, or because I used to answer fan mail all the time and I would send stuff to people.
Mm-hmm.
I would do some, like a head sketch of somebody, or I would color one of the prints that we always had at the shows and would send, send stuff. So it wasn't with all the rest of the stuff. It was in the envelope. But it was amongst a bunch of artwork, because I was moving artwork. And it was in a stack of artwork, and I opened it up and I'm like, Paul Lee, really? That Paul Lee? And I opened it up and I started reading and I started giggling. I was like, oh man, this is awesome.
That was my the first store I was part owner of. And what's up, Vince? My youngest hanging out down here right now.
What's up, Vince?
Yeah, Vince. What you doing, bud? You looking for something? What you looking for? Okay. I don't know.
He's looking for trouble.
That's exactly what he's had a meltdown a little bit earlier. He was really good. I have to tell everybody this. He's got autism. He's good 90% of the time, but when he's bad, he's bad. So he just has a meltdown. He had a meltdown earlier today, but now he's been good. So now he'll just wander around the background. He'll probably sit down. Do not turn it up. Turn it down. Can you hear that?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
So he comes down here and watches, because he wants to watch the big TV.
I got you.
He's got his own big screen TV in his own room, but he comes down and watches my TV. So
well, he wants to hang out with Dad.
Oh, he always wants to hang out with me. He's with me most of the time. I mean, he goes with the shop with me and hangs out, and he's
That's
my
good.
buddy. He takes
good.
everywhere. But oh my God. But going back here with that, yeah, that was my first shop I was part owner of. That predates me and my wife. So that's at least 28 years ago. So wow, that's just that's crazy to me. That
it's hard to think how long ago all that was.
Oh yeah. And
this issue 1 of Superior 7, we released that in 90?
Yeah, I was still in high school.
Yeah. I graduated in 86. What about you?
92.
92. Okay, so okay.
6 years. Yeah, I was.
I'm
closing in on 50, and actually a couple years ago, because he was outrunning me, and he was fast. Now he's strong. So the kid's a bull of a kid, and I was chasing him at the park one day, and I'm like, I couldn't keep up. I'm like, you know what? I need to go to the gym. So I started working out, and now I'm probably in the best shape I've been in since my 20s.
I was gonna say you look thinner.
Oh yeah,
since the last time I saw you.
Probably last time you saw me, I was about 220. Okay. I'm 180 something now.
How tall are you?
5'9".
Oh, okay. I was 175, 180 in high school, but I was 6 foot. I'm 6 foot, so yeah. I weigh a little more than that now. A little more.
Oh, well, it got bad, but it was one of the ones where my body shape was so weird, and I was getting kind of puffy and stuff, and I looked, I was like, man, I can't keep doing this. And my wife got me eating healthier now, and now I it's weird to go back and look at like a year ago, because I used to get up every morning and eat 2 sandwiches for breakfast. And Vince, turn down. Thank you. And now I eat maybe a sandwich a week. I don't eat bread if I eat a couple hamburgers, I'll eat like one with a bun and then one without a bun.
Yeah.
It's weird being healthy now, kind of, I guess.
Well, yeah, I'm not a big bread guy, but I like my dogs and my burgers on bread. So if I can have that, I'm okay. I can give up most of the bread. I like whole wheat pasta, so that works. But I love vegetables. I love chicken. I can do it. When I set my mind to it, I can do it. I've lost 55 pounds before, and I've lost 45 pounds before. So I can do it. It's just I have to set my mind to it, and I have to really, stick to it.
Yeah,
I just haven't gotten to that point, and I need to, because I put I've got my COVID 40. I'm carrying that around.
yeah,
I need to get rid of that.
I was like last week with the weather change, we went from being really hot to cool, and now we're back. When we went back to being hot, my allergies were just killing me. My nose is all stuffed up. Everyone's like, "Are you sick?" I'm like, "I've just got allergies. I can't."
Yeah, but
I feel fine. I just got to blow my nose all the time.
my nose is all stuffed up.
That's exactly what I was doing. And of course, my wife works in the she's a medical assistant. She works at a doctor's office, and she looks at me and goes, "Are you sick?" I'm like, "No, I'm fine."
So I saw that today's your anniversary. So
Yep.
happy anniversary.
Thank you.
How many years?
Been together for 28 years. We met at my comic shop. We're going to be, this is our together. Our wedding anniversary is in March. So in a couple years, we'll be together for 30 and married for 25. So we're trying to figure out what we're going to do for that big event. So I think we're going back to New Orleans, I think.
That's cool. Oh,
Yeah.
I've never been to New Orleans. That's cool.
It's a blast. I'm not a drinker or nothing like that, but to go down for the, just the adventure, I guess, of it was actually really fun.
Yeah.
And then Darby, Darby Watkins. He always gets artwork done. He's the one that gets Amethyst.
Okay.
Artwork he's got. Darby just missed it because he went down the Wizard World, New Orleans, like the week before we were there. He's like, "You went down?" I was like, "Nah, there's no way I would go down for a convention. I want to go down to have." One is that for the first time ever, we're in a place well enough that we can go on vacation where it doesn't have to be a business trip.
Yeah.
We've been to Baltimore, Chicago, we've been to Atlanta, but I always have to justify it by doing either a convention or go down to buy or stuff to make it. And now we don't have to do that no more. So it's kind of nice.
That's good. Yeah, definitely.
She's getting sick of it.
So you said you met her at the comic shop. So is she a comic fan too?
No. One of her best friends was trying to buy a book for his girlfriend. And Tina was his ride. And he's like, "Hey, I need to stop in the store to go get this book." And Tina's like, "I'm not going in. Comic books are for kids." And he's like, "Go inside because you're going to be mad if you have to wait in the car." So she came in, and I just happened to be there because I worked down the street. My regular full-time job was a grocery store manager at the time.
Right.
And so I came down to the on my lunch break because our books were supposed to be in. They were running late, and I ended up seeing this redhead girl that I was like, "Oh my God," I was like checking her out, but I had just came off a bad relationship. She had just came off a bad relationship, and we were just like, neither one of us thought anything about it. And my partner Chris, he calls me. I call up later, and he goes, "Hey," "You that redhead that was in here?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "She thinks you're cute." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, Chris." I was thinking he's feeding me a bunch of shit.
Right.
And he goes, "Well, she left your number." And I'm like, "Whatever."
Oh,
and
wow.
He goes, he doesn't believe me and hands her the phone. And I'm like, and I went down after I got off work. We talked. I was totally just taken by her, and she thought I was kind of obnoxious because I was like I said, I just came off a bad relationship, and I just I didn't really talk a whole lot. We were just she was there. We went out that weekend. We thought we were just going to, actually we just thought we'd probably end up being friends, and hanging out, and it just kept going and going and going and going and going. And it hasn't always been easy because I'm not the easiest person to deal with. I get moody and I have, dealing with my OCD and stuff like that, but she's put up with me and I love her to death and I got 4 great kids because of her and
that's awesome.
Yeah.
If you can find a woman that'll put up with your shit and still love you despite it all.
Oh, that's why I tell everybody. I was like, I know she was never for the look, she was never for the money. She loved me for who I was. And they're like, what? It's like, because I didn't have money when we met. And I was a dorky kid when we met. And I was like, she stayed with me through all of that. And she knew from day one that I was the guy that had the comic shop. I was the guy who collected books. I was, the horror movie guy. She knew that from day one. And matter of fact, shortly after me and her got together, we went to Motor City Con for the first time because her family lived like 20 miles away.
Okay.
And we went up there and I remember taking her because that was back when girls did not go to comic conventions.
Oh yeah. It was, man, could you imagine if we were in our 20s now?
It was legitimately, I think when me and her went, there was maybe 10 girls and like 2,000 guys.
And half of them were booth babes.
Yeah, exactly. And girls with their boyfriends, like, what did you bring me to?
Yeah. What is this shit?
Oh yeah. And
we go now?
Oh, and she walked in and she just looks around. She goes, what did I get into? And then she ends up, because she loves artwork. She's not really a comic collector. She likes certain artists.
Right.
And like she's a huge fan of Joe Linsner. She loves Tim Vigil. And then of course her like mainstream stuff is she loves Poison Ivy from Batman. So any type of Poison Ivy book comes out, I usually get it for her. She might have 2 short boxes of comics and stuff like that. But yeah, it's never been her whole thing, but she stuck with me through all of it. So
that's awesome. I speaking of Linsner, I just did a spot illustration for Joe Monks.
Oh wow.
He's down in Florida now. He's blind.
Oh, did not know that.
Yeah, he I don't know if it was macular degeneration or what, but he's blind. But he directs movies. He's really big into horror. I don't know if he directs movies still. I know he did when he was blind, when he was still up in New York. But he and his wife live in Florida, and she recommended me to him to do a spot illustration. So it's on my page if you want to check it out.
Check it out.
And he's putting together, because he can't travel. He's just going to do like local shows in Florida. When his wife can go with him and be his eyes. But he's putting together, he's doing basically, I think they're going to be like Ashcan format, but it's going to be like zines. It's all going to be horror related stuff. And he's basically reaching out to some of his old buddies from back in the day for the artwork and stuff. And he mentioned something about me doing some sequential work for him. But I think he's fixated on getting these first 2 issues done. And then we'll talk about the sequential stuff later. But yeah, so I thought that was cool because he was the one back in the day. We went to New York in '90 and we sat next to him and we sat in between Linsner and Monks and Eastman and Laird. And we were in the middle. And Joe was just, if you've ever met Joey Monks, he's just, he talks a mile a minute. He's very passionate about what he does. And he just schooled us about comic book buyer's guide and I'll get all the addresses and put together your submission packs and blah, 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 send it out to all these guys. And there's 15 distributors and you get, they're all on the back comic. We knew nothing about any of that stuff. And really opened our eyes to a lot of it. And then we went back in '92, and with we had the first 2 issues, and we had issue 3 in production. So we had like sample pages in a binder. But we were sitting there, and these kids, these black kids, come up, and all we heard was Superior 7. Oh man, they didn't tell us the Superior 7 guys was going to be here. And they come running up to the table. You guys got books? You got books? We're like, yeah, we got issues 1 and 2. We're like, oh man, because they lived in the Bronx, and the book was sold out everywhere in the Bronx, and that was our biggest area, obviously because it's so densely populated. But New York City was our highest, our biggest area of consumption, where we sold the most issues. And then Houston, Texas was number 2 for whatever reason. But anyway, so they couldn't get books, they couldn't get reorders from Diamond. So we ended up having to reorder. Remind me to tell you a story about issue 1 being stolen. Then based on that conversation, we ended up doing reorders. But yeah, there were like five kids, and they were freaking out about it. And we had that character binder, and they were flipping through and checking out all the characters that they hadn't seen in the books yet. And the one little kid looks at Dion, and he goes, and I said, yeah, that's Rat Bane, that's the leader. And he looked at Dion, and he goes, yo man, I know you had something to do with that, brother. And Dion looked at him, and he looked at me, and he kind of smiled, and he said, no man, he said, actually that was his idea, I had nothing to do with it. So the kids was like, what? But your whole little gaggle of kids, man, bought their issue 1 and issue 2s and was running through the convention. You talk about, man, you can't buy that.
No.
That was so awesome. But anyway, we got back to the city here after a 17-hour drive, and we got home at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and we left everything in the car. Bad mistake. We go out in the morning to unload the car. Chris had a little Geo Metro, little hatchback. The hatchback was shattered. We had 3 boxes of issue 1 gone. Those were our remaining issues of issue 1 gone. All of Chris's markers gone. Everything that was in the back was gone. So the only copies of issue 1 that we had were our own personal copies. So yeah.
And they never resurfaced?
No, we went to we were in an apartment complex over at Price Hill. We went to all the dumpsters and checked them, because as soon as those kids found out they were full of comics, they just ditched them. And we walked all over those complexes looking for the boxes, never found them.
So. I thought worst come to worst, man, somebody would have taken them and dropped them off at, like, try to get some money out of them at a shop or something.
Oh no, we ran that gambit too, to the whole loop, 275. Looking for them. Lawrenceburg, all over the place. Kentucky, yeah, and nothing. They were just gone.
That's
probably 300 copies, just gone. So if you come across the stack,
across a big stack of them somewhere. Yeah, it's man, that's bizarre. I've had stuff stolen out of my car, but nothing like that. I literally had somebody break into my car one time and go through my stuff and take like a handful of things instead of just grabbing everything and running.
Yeah,
they took time. They went through my glove compartment. They looked through, and this is back when everybody had cassette tapes in their car.
Yep. I
had probably 100 cassette tapes. They took like 5. It would have been
easier particular.
to grab the bag and run off. They stole 5 cassette tapes out of
What 5 cassette tapes did they take?
I want to say like Pantera and maybe some
good shit.
Yeah. Well, and then years later I got broke into, and by this time I kind of got smart, and I wasn't keeping my CDs, my regular CDs in my car. I kept like either just that's the CD themselves or burnt copies.
Yeah, I always made burnt copies.
And they stole the burnt copies. And they stole, the worst part about it is that I had the burnt copies of Johnny Cash and burnt copies of Robert Johnson, the Millennium Collection.
Oh man.
And that's like, I think it's like 4 discs for both of those. And they stole those. And those were literally just in a slip thing in my car's glove compartment. They took that.
Yeah.
And that we knew who did it. That's the worst part about it. That was the one where when the cops showed up, they're like, well, we can't find it. We don't know who did it. And everybody's like, the guy that lives in that house right there, the one that's staring at us through the window, it's him. And their cops are like, well, we don't have any proof. I'm like, everybody knows it's that guy who does it. And then like 3 weeks later, he gets busted breaking into a dentist office. And he steals like implements. He steals like dental tools. Stuff there's no way you could sell. And the worst part about it, the worst part about all that was, he didn't sell any of it. It was all in his, because he was in an upstairs apartment.
Yeah.
There was an attic. He found the door to the attic. He was storing all that stuff up there. So when they find him, they find everything.
Oh, wow.
They find just everything he had stolen. And then the cops sat on it for, I don't know how long, till everybody just kind of gave up and just let the cops have their shit. Because
that's messed up.
Oh, yeah. But it was bad because everybody's like, that guy right there, that's the one who stole everything.
A scumbag up there in the window. Yeah,
that's looking at us. The one who's like peeking behind the window so you can't see him. That's him. But oh man, I got way off topic on that one. Oh man, I'm not gonna lie.
Good, man.
Next time we do a show, you do a show, and you need to bring me some pages or something that I can see of the original run of Superior 7, because I have to see that. Like I said, what is that? Almost 30 years ago that book ended. Yeah. And it's one of the things that I always wanted
back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Tina, you've got a Tina and I've got a Tina. And she hit the worst thing for her to hear come out of my face is back in the 90s. She hates that.
Cost me so much money.
Cost her so much money.
Oh my God.
Just to get my characters back. So they were my characters.
Oh, that's what scares me about one book I did. That one I told you about that takes place, it starts in Cincinnati. I had a guy do the artwork on it. The first issue was done. I saw the artwork. I seen it all. That guy bolted and I never saw him again. And I don't know whatever happened to the original artwork. I don't know if he kept it. He could have published it for all I know. And I've never seen a penny of a book I wrote. And but it's
a minefield, man. It really is. And it's no different now than it was back then. Our saving grace was we were all buddies from high school. And Dion, he was in town a few months ago. His mom had passed, and he messaged me on Instagram and said, "Hey, I'm in town, man, for a few days. Do you want to get together?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah!" And he says, "Well, I can do it tonight. I've got tonight." So we met up at Adriatica's in Clifton, and we sat there and had pizza and talked for 3.5 hours. And it was cool that we were able to do a lot of apologizing for shit that we had done to each other when we were, kids.
Yeah.
And things that how much I meant to him, how much I influenced him, because I was really hard on Dion because the Superior 7 was really my dream. And for whatever it's worth, I don't know that it was really Chris or Dion's dream. I think they just kind of went along with it because we were all friends. But Dion he worked at cons at the meat packing plant, and he was working 10-hour days packing meat. And then he would come home. He's living over in Avondale in a real shitty apartment, a bad part of town. And he would sit there and he would work on pages. And Chris and I would go over there once a week, white guys in a black neighborhood. And we would go up to the 7th floor to his apartment. We'd sit in there and look at what he'd done. And he was living with a girl at the time that wasn't good for him. And so there was a lot of shit that went on. And he reminded me of, we did one of those shows up in one of those ass shows.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave Campiti was there doing portfolio reviews. And he ripped Dion a new ass and completely destroyed him. And we couldn't find him. He was gone. And I found him out in the hall, and he was just destroyed. I went out there and I got him, and I said, come on, screw that guy. What does he know? And I brought him back inside, and we met Gary Barker.
Mm-hmm.
And Gary Barker just gushed over this stuff. And we said, what do you think? Hey, will you look at our issue 1? Will you tell us what you think of it? And it was all on crescent board. Because, we didn't know anything. And it was all oversized, and it wasn't proportionate to comic book size. And I'll never forget, as long as I live, Gary looked at it. And he goes, well, I think the first thing you need to do is redraw this book because it's the wrong size. You're not going to be able to print a comic book that's a comic book size. And 56 pages, remember.
Yep. And it was magazine size.
Yeah, that's why it was magazine size, because we very briefly broached the subject of redrawing it to Dion, and they basically told us to piss off. Which, there was no way. It was too much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But issue 2, if you remember, issue 2 had some of the pages in the front had like graphics and stuff.
Yeah.
Because they were done that size too, the first 17 pages. And I went in and I cut and pasted it. Because at that time I was working at the art department at Duro Bag. So Gary really turned him around.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were sitting there at the pizza place and we were talking, and he was like, he said, that really saved me. He said, you forcing me to go back inside, because he said I was ready to walk out of that hotel, hitchhike back to Cincinnati, and I was done with comics. I wasn't going to do it anymore. He said, but I remember you picked me up and you throw me back in that room and you forcing me to go back and do it. And that's when we met Gary Parker, and everything changed because Gary loved his stuff. And I was like, really? And I had completely forgotten about that because, oh my God, we went through so much together. To think about that. And as he was telling the story, it was coming back to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, wow. And he said, and I said, I apologized to him. I said, I pushed you a lot. And he said, you didn't push me enough. He says, I wish you would have pushed me harder. He said, because I didn't always put my best foot forward when it came to the Superior 7. And he said, I wish I would have listened more. He says, but he says, we're 50 now and we can't go back to our 20s. He said, but knowing everything that I know now and what we had back then, I didn't realize what we had, and you did. And he says, and I regret that. And I was like, okay. So it was a good 3.5 hours of us, 50-year-old men talking about us at 20. And you know how stupid you are and how many stupid things, mistakes that you do and wrong decisions that you make when you're 20. Being selfish and stuff like that. And we really, I think our friendship really grew a lot in that 3.5 hours. And we've stayed connected on Instagram and stuff like that. And so that was really, really good. So yeah, he's considering, he's more a brother than he is a friend. I mean, we've known each other since, Jesus, we were in the 8th grade. So good backstory for you.
Oh yeah, that's pretty amazing stuff. I mean, I've got a couple friends that I'm still friends with from back. I got one of my really good friends, and we see each other sporadically because just life, he's we've been friends. Literally, our parents were friends before me and him, either me or him were born.
Right.
He's and I always tell her he's my brother. I don't care. And then my other buddy's been my buddy since junior high, and I'm still friends with him. And it's being able to have friendships that long. You're going to have your rocky points and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah.
You just like, but man, the fact that you guys have mended bridges and stuff like that's really cool.
Yeah.
And
Chris and I, we've been through some rough patches too. But yeah, I mean, we're still really, really close, really tight. Dion lives out in California now. He's doing freelance work, mostly for 20th Century Fox, but which is now Disney.
yeah.
But yeah, he's out there with his wife and his son. He's got 2 sons, and now he has a grandson who looks just like him. It's hard to believe that he's a grandfather, but his one son cosplayed as the Red Hood. He was a Marine. He was in the Marine Corps for 4 years, and he's all about the Red Hood. And he's got this badass cosplay. And Dion sent me pictures. He said, "I raised him right."
That is neat. I get the Red Hood over there.
Yeah.
Look carefully right there.
Oh yes, there it is.
Yep. All my other helmets.
We started watching the Titans on HBO Max. Love it.
I got to get back to watch it. I only watched the first episode of this season so far. Same with Doom Patrol. But I love everything so far. And I'm one of them guys that I think I'm going to wait till all the episodes are done.
Yeah.
And binge it in like 2 days because I'm horrible with that. My wife is like, well, would you savor it? I'm like, it's still, like a year before you get it anyway. So what's a year or what's 52, 52 weeks or what's 50 weeks of waiting?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we binged the first 2 seasons, and then we got caught up with season 3, and now tomorrow night's the final episode of season 3. And then we discovered Doom Patrol while watching the Titans,
Mm-hmm.
and there's 3 seasons of that.
Yep.
So we're currently on episode 3 of season 1, and it's fun. I knew nothing about the Doom Patrol. And it's fun, and Brendan Fraser's great, so we're really enjoying it.
That's a great cast. And it's like, you almost feel like that show doesn't deserve the cast that it gets, but it's, oh man, Matt Boomer is Negative Man. And I cannot remember her real name, but she was Candy on 2.5 Men.
Yeah.
And James Bond is is the chief.
The only one that I don't really dig is I don't like the casting for Cyborg. I think he's too small.
Yeah, it's almost like we talk about this all the time because we're always like, it's just weird that DC allowed them to use Cyborg of all people.
Yeah, I'm like, why is he not in the Titans?
Yeah, and you've already got him in Justice League. Why would you? Because it feels like it's cheapening the character. Yeah. And I mean, the guy does a decent job at it, but I'm not going to fault him. But he's not. It literally looks like something that I could go buy at Spirit, and I could be Cyborg tomorrow for Halloween. Yeah. And
that's what bothers me. That's it too, because I keep looking at it and going, wow, that looks really cheap. Mm-hmm. The fact that he's too small.
Yeah. But then you look next to him and you look at Robot Man, or you look at, as easy as it is to make Negative Man, they at least do a pretty good job at him. Okay, this is the one thing I did have a problem with. That's not what I figured the Negative Being to look like. The Negative Being always to me was just a void, a black void in the shape of a person. And it's things like crackly lightning. But I get that a black void wouldn't read well on TV, but reads great in comic form.
Right, exactly.
Oh yeah. That's one of the only things I was talking about stuff I've written And people go, well, why don't you try to make the movie into a comic? I was like, sometimes it'll work as a movie because it depends on the medium. Sometimes it can work in both. Sometimes I don't think it can.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's the thing with Roadkill Rampage is in my head, it is so a movie.
mm-hmm.
And then I do pretty comprehensive thumbnails
Mm-hmm.
that I provided for issue 1 and I provided for issue 2. But I don't think I'm going to provide as comprehensive because I've come to realize through some recent conversations with artists that handcuffs them, and I never thought of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I know how it is in my head, so I know what I want to see when I flip through the book.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that handcuffs the artist. So, and Sean and I talked about it, and I said, okay, there's going to be a couple of scenes that I want a particular way,
Mm-hmm.
but the rest of the book, I'm going to leave it up to you. So I'm going to be interested to see what issue 3 looks like compared to issue 2. I mean, issue 2 looks pretty sweet, but we'll see. I'm just curious to see if there's a big enough difference.
He's just not having it today. Usually I tell him to turn it off, but we used to have the Roku where you plug in you just put the headphones on.
Yeah.
That one, since I got the new TV, that Roku remote does not have the headphone jack.
Oh,
so
man.
he would go just put the headphones on and everything else like that. It's not happening this time. So
that's not good.
Hopefully, because it's so light, I don't think it'll appear, but I'm hoping so.
Yeah,
I
can't hear it, but
yeah,
like you said, that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Yeah, but I can go through and when I re-edit, and I can take the sound. I can go into the sound bar and move stuff, so I can hopefully, if you can hear it, it'll be nothing. So
okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
Don't want you getting in trouble.
No, I've only done that so far. Most stuff is when I do my other show, the cartoon one, it'll go copyright claim. It's not demonetized. I'm like, I'm not monetized anyways. I still got to get like 500 more subscribers before I'm monetized. And it's they'll just say any money that's made off of this goes to. I'm like, oh, I don't care. So
right.
Two times I've been taken down. One was for Bionic 6, and the other one I risked it because I found a episode of Spider-Man's Amazing Friends on YouTube on somebody's, and I was like, all right, if they got it passed, then I can probably get it passed. Nope. They nailed me. So I had to,
you try.
Disney went after me for my showing of Spider-Man's Amazing Friends episode 1. Yeah, that's like the one thing I don't get is that I get Spider-Man. I get because Disney has got that on Disney Plus. I get that. Bionic 6, I have no idea because it's not on anywhere. It's not available on DVD. NBC Universal hit me with that. They're like, nope, that is ours. Take it down. And I'm like, okay. But
you all ain't promoting it.
Yeah, I was like, shit. I was like, you let me get the rights to this. I was like, I will air it every week. I'll air it every day. I will go and try to make a comic book out of this again. I will, because I think Bionic 6 would make a great comic book.
I mean, honestly, what they obviously don't care about it.
No.
You know, what difference does it make if somebody else is taking, you know, it's like we could, you know, the whole fan art thing, it shows, or do you have the copyrights to do that? You know, I mean, no, and they don't have the manpower to send everybody that goes to a show a cease and desist. It's free advertising for all the companies. Yeah. So, you know.
Well, remember, was it a few years back when DC Warner Brothers was going around? I want to say like San Diego and New York, and anybody that had an exposed DC tattoo got a cease and desist and had to cover up.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yep. They oh man, it's got to be like at least 5 or 6 years ago now. Yeah. They were telling people that they had to cover it up. Let's see if I can pull it up here on my phone here. They went after people for that. It was cover up your tattoos while you're out and about at conventions. Let's see.
How can they enforce that?
I have no idea. I don't think they could. DC tattoos.
That's just bizarre.
Oh yeah, it was DC to prosecute tattoos comic mix 2011.
Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, they went after people for DC tattoos back then. And
well, I mean, that's just whose brainchild was that?
yeah. But they went after them for, I mean, the worst part about it is I want to say it actually appeared on but it ended up being, yeah, tattoo copyright. Yeah, there you go.
Talk about negative publicity.
Yeah, I don't know if you can read that or not, but yeah, they went after him for. I'm like, man, why would you? That's just dumb.
That makes zero sense. You have people that put in your characters on their bodies as a tribute because they love those characters so much that they've decided to carry them around for the rest of their lives. You're going to penalize them because they love your characters?
They I can't remember which one it was. If it might have been both sides. It was went after some daycare had comic book characters painted on a wall, and they got a cease and desist. Yes, you're just like, seriously, guys, you're taking the people that love your product, especially if you're in a daycare. You're taking the next wave of your fans.
Yes, the next generation
away from them.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
I don't get it, but you know, I love Godzilla, so I have a Godzilla tattoo. So
yeah,
it's gonna be on me until I die. If there's some massive accident that takes it off.
Burns it off.
Got Megatron over here, and I got Voltron and Mazinger Z, and
nice.
Yeah, that's my one buddy who's he's a comic book artist. He's a tattoo artist / comic book artist. He realized that he wasn't making much money doing the comic book thing, so he started tattooing.
Yeah,
he did the Voltron and Mazinger Z on my leg. It looks like a video game, so it's got one on one side. It says verse, and it's got them like coming at each other like in a video game.
What's his name?
Casey Anderson.
Casey Anderson. Okay.
Yeah. He's semi-local to me. He's actually tattooing out of Yellow Springs now. So he's actually driving.
Okay.
He was a hell of a drive for him to drive to me, and now he's driving all the way yet even further. Hell of an artist. If I had some of his art floating around here, I'd show you. Right now I'm working with a guy named C. Raymond out of San Antonio, Texas. He did I used one of his pre-existing books, and we did a store copy of the book. So I had 50 copies of his book, signed and numbered 1 through 50. And then on top of that, I bought some of the original artwork. So when I get rid of all 50 copies, we're going to give away 2 pieces of original artwork to the people who bought the book.
Oh, nice.
So
that's very cool.
Yeah. And I try to promote like any of my friends that do books. I help them when I can. It's one of them things. I've gotten a lot of guys up for like free comic book day and whatnot anytime I can. This year was a little odd. Last year was really odd. So we haven't done any in the last 2 years, but
yeah.
You know, we were supposed to do PickleCon again last year, and then that fell through. And then we were supposed to do it this year, and I didn't want to risk it this year. So next year.
Yeah. Wait and see.
Yeah. I've so far I've done the only shows I've personally done, set up and sold at have been the Dayton shows. I've gone to a
Kansas City?
no, I did Jim and Dan shows.
Jim and Dan. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Jesse, it's hard for me to do Gem Cities being 2 days.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to leave the store and to take that much product out of the store because my,
Right.
to justify taking it's I make too much money on Saturdays at the shop to walk away from it.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good thing.
Yeah. But now Sundays, since I'm closed on Sundays, I'll go to do Sunday shows all the time whenever I can if they're local. So
Do you ever go up and do Ash?
I haven't done Ash in years.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we just talked about them a couple days ago. It's funny because the last time I did one, it was weird because it was almost all the same people.
Yeah.
And that's weird. Almost you can almost set your clock, like watch, like, man, this guy, and there he is. And you're like, I haven't seen that guy in 10 years and he still walks in at the same time.
Well, yeah, when we started going back when we were doing peanut pudding and jelly, we did a couple of Ash shows, and it had been 10, 12 years since I'd done it. And it was the same thing. It was the same people in the same spots.
Mm-hmm.
But we had new product. So the first couple of times we did it, it was okay because it was a new product. And then it was, it was the same thing. We made, when we were up there with Superior 7, we used to kill that show. We made damn good money.
Oh yeah.
A lot. We did that show a lot, probably twice a year.
I was just telling some guys a while back because they're talking about shows, man. There's a lot of shows. I'm like, man, I was like, you don't even understand. I was like, when I was in the heyday, so 91 to I don't know 94-ish, I guess. I did at least one show a weekend, if not two. I would get off work on Fridays. I would load up the vehicle. We would do a show in Dayton on Saturday. We would drive back, restock, then drive to Columbus and do a show, or we drive to Cincinnati, or we drive to Indiana, or we drive to Zanesville, or we drive up to Toledo, or we drive, every weekend was at least one show. And hell, at one point, Dayton had two shows. Sometimes Cincinnati had two because you had actually in Cincinnati you had Sharonville. I want to say Indianapolis had two shows because you had the Ash show at Shadeland, and then you could go a little further up the road, like the weekend later, and there was another show. It was a Jubilee show.
Yep.
And every weekend, at least one show, sometimes two. And I told my wife, I was like, I'll never do that again. I mean, that was back in the day, and we did it again kind of when the shop started. When the shop I own now started, we were doing as many shows as we could.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't need to do those no more. I make decent money at the shop, and I'm like, I'm not packing up everything on a Friday night.
Oh, it's hard to do that with a 50-year-old body.
Well, I had teenage boys at the time. My two middle boys were my oldest son was off in the Navy, but it was I just pawned a lot of work off on them.
Heck yeah.
I still do. My 22-year-old, he works for me. He watches his younger brother 2 days a week, and then he works for me. We're going to slowly get more hours for him at the shop, but he's him and his brother just moved out. My son Brandon is 24, just bought his first house. And I'm like, man, I just bought my first house at 46.
Shh.
But, and also if I would have bought my first house at 24, I would have lost it because, I've gotten laid off and everything else. And
oh yeah,
off work for 6 months, and, you got to pay those house payments while you're off work. So, and
yeah, they don't go on pause.
No. At least my car payment. Well, I can't even say that because I still deal with that to this day. I was supposed to have it so that if you were off work, injured or whatever, my car payments will either get paid. And I found out that that was a scam.
Oh man.
And what they do is, well, they just run you around. They just give you the runaround until basically you either pay the place or you lose your car.
Yeah.
And most people end up paying it once they get back to work. Well, I fought with it, and I kept getting paperwork. They're like, I'd call and I'd be like, hey, I need to talk to such and such. Why isn't this getting taken care of, man? I'm supposed to be getting this taken care of. And one day I was looking at my paperwork, and the guy, my contact information was I.L. Ford. And I'm like, who the hell has a first name I.L. Ford, And then I'm looking at my paperwork, and highlighted was installment loan Ford Thunderbird. I.L. Ford.
Oh man.
And because you would call and he'd be on vacation. He'd call, he'd be in a meeting. He'd be out for the day. And it'd always just give you the runaround. And it was a scam. It was and I didn't find out till years later. And by the time I found out, it was too late for the lawsuit that they had going. And
oh man.
Yep. But I ended up keeping my car, but I had to fight with it. Yeah. I actually told him to come get it one time because the engine had gotten screwed up, so it didn't even run. And I'm still paying car payments on it. And I called the guy up and he goes, we're going to come and get your car. I'm like, keys are in it. Take it. I'll tell you where it's parked. I was like, it's out on the street. I'll leave it unlocked. You can come get it. Let me get my shit out. And never took it. I ended up paying it off finally. Then they, because my mom and stepdad were co-signers on it, and I paid it off. And then they told me that I still owed like $500 on it. And I'm like, I don't owe you nothing. I was like, I paid this car off. I've gone through hoops for you guys. I was like, this car is paid off. No, you still owe us $500. I was like, I'm not paying it. I was like, I'm not giving you another penny. And I was like, I'm trying to get this settled. And my mom and they just called my mom and stepdad up, and then they threatened them with $1,100. And they went and got the money out of the bank and went and paid it the next day while I was fighting to try to get it taken care of. I'm like, if you would have just let me take care of this, it would have gotten taken care of. But all they did was have to scare them, and they ran and took care of it. And I'm like, 20 some years later, I still deal with that. Yeah. My mom and stepdad will still bring that up to this day. I was like, I've got kids. I've paid every bill. I've lost everything, and I've paid my bills. And that car will still get brought up to this day.
Well, that's a parent's job. Never let you forget.
I told
my kids, you sharp. It keeps you sharp.
My youngest one back there, I give him crap all the time. I was like, before you, Daddy, had hair. He was like, I had hair at one point. He don't care. He's just like, whatever.
Yeah, he's got a pretty thick mane of hair back there. I saw it when he came.
Oh, he's got his mom's hair. So do all my boys. Man, they got their mom's hair. So they get just thick head of hair. But you know what? None of them can grow a beard for nothing. Really? I can be a wolf man in like a week.
I am currently a wolf man.
Yeah. Well, it's bad. I'm one of them guys that has to shave all the way up here.
Oh wow.
Oh man, because I'm sitting there last night. I'm sitting in my bathroom. My wife got one of the magnifying mirrors. I'm like looking at it, and I'm like, oh man. It's like take the hair off. Can't grow here, but I can grow hair here. So
maybe you can pull some of this up through here.
I can be one we part it.
There you go. A comb
a
real
up and over.
A comb upper.
I keep telling my wife I'm just going to shave it all off, but I also, like I said earlier, I have OCD, and one thing I despise is I hate people touching my hair. It just sends cold chills down my spine. Yeah. So I'm one of them guys is like, I don't like getting a haircut, and to have somebody shave my head will be
have her do it.
I need to, but even that.
You remember, I used to have long hair too.
Yeah.
And we were in a studio one day, and because I used to, I wore it in a ponytail for so long.
Mhm.
And one day I was in the bathroom and I was shaving and I was brushing my teeth, and I'm like, you know what? You really look like you've got short hair because your hair is pulled back. What difference would it make if you just cut it? And I went to the store and they cut it, and I took it and I kept it. I gave some of it to Hairs for Locks.
Mhm.
And I showed up to the studio and they were all like, whoa, what did you do? It's like, I got tired of messing with it because it was long. You remember how long it was.
No, yeah.
I don't know. I guess it was right about the same age that I kind of stopped going to bars and listening to music and drinking real heavy. We're about 28, 29 years old, just kind of exhaled.
I stopped drinking, but I will still go. I still love music. I will go.
Oh, I do too. I want to go find some good. I can actually stand now, but I don't tempt it because I did a Six Bomb Boards does a live draw sketch thing. I did it last year, and I stood on concrete for 3.5 hours and did a piece of artwork, and it messed me up, and I haven't been back since. And I loved it; it was a great time. But I can't do it, and I'm afraid. Like, we've gone to concerts, Tina and I, but sit down. I mean, we've seen Foo Fighters a couple of times. We went and saw Kings of Leon at Riverbend. We went and saw Billy Joel at Coliseum, but I'm sitting down. I can't stand.
Me, it was I went a while back and went and seen that was a while back now, but went and seen Anthrax. Anthrax, one of my favorite bands, going back to
yeah.
And I'm sitting there and my buddy's like, did you get in the pit? I'm like, oh God, no, I'm in my 40s. I was like, man, I don't heal. I'm not going to get up.
Oh my God. Chris and I went to Bogart's. This was probably 8 or 10 years ago, and saw Wolfsbane? Wolfmother?
Wolfmother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you ever been? You've been to Bogart's, right?
Yeah, I've been to Bogart's. Yeah, a bunch of times. Yeah.
We were standing on the edge of the pit, and I was just like, and at that, then my back was really screwed up. I was in a lot of pain, and I just looked at Chris, and we just both, we've got that unimind. We can read each other. We can finish each other's sentences, and we just kind of looked at each other and just got this evil grin. And he's like, "It effing sucks, doesn't it?" We because we both wanted to jump in, because we would always jump in and go the other way. It was going in a circle. We jump in and go the opposite way. And so what we did was we went to the bar, we got a drink, and we went upstairs to the balcony, sat in chairs, and we watched the concert from up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're old.
Well, that's like I'm sitting there. I hurt my back. Oh man, back in September, and it took me forever to heal, because I'd get where I'd start feeling good, and I'd take a couple days off from the gym, and I'd start feeling good, and then I'd go back, and then I would be miserable. I couldn't walk. And then finally one day I looked at my wife. I was like, she works at the doctor. I was like, get me in. And she's like, are you sure? I was like, get me in today. And I had a fist-sized knot sticking out of the lower left side of my back. It was the muscle was tensed up and twitching like this.
Oh, Jesus.
And the physician's assistant, she's like, well, let me see it. I pull it up, and she's like, you're in pain right now, right? And I went, yeah. She goes, I can see your back moving. She goes, it's just twitching. And she goes, we're going to, can you relax it? I'm like, no. I was like, I am relaxed. I was like, it won't relax enough. And so finally I had to get on, which I hate doing, is I had to get muscle relaxers and painkillers to let it calm down. And then it took me a week, and then I was kind of back, and then it came back. And I'm like, I finally looked at my buddy Mark, because he goes to the gym with me. I'm like, I'm done. I'm taking a week off. I'm not doing nothing. I didn't mow the yard. I didn't lift hardly anything heavy. I didn't go to the gym. And finally I was back. But during that time, I went and seen, I took my son Joe, we went and seen King Crimson in Huber. And I'm just sitting there like, I can't get comfortable in the seats. My back just hurts. So I'm like, because, you know, they got them little tiny ass hard plastic seats. And I'm like, I kind of walking around like this. And then a couple weeks later, my wife and I went and seen Alanis Morissette and Garbage in Cincinnati at Riverbend. And so yet again, I'm on these little tiny ass seats, and it was miserable for, and then now I've done my exercises. I've relaxed it. I try to not be stupid and lift something heavier than I need to.
Yeah.
Because I think it's because I picked up a couch, and
not good.
Yeah, it's one of the ones where you're like, I hated to say this, but I was probably the strongest out of everybody there, and everybody's trying to pick us up. Like, I just grab it and I throw it in the back of a truck instead of everybody fighting with it, because they're like, just grab this side, grab this side. I'm like, no, just there it goes. And I needed to get my refrigerator out of, because like I said, my kids moved out. We had their extra refrigerator upstairs. I finally moved that on Sunday because I was like, I'm not picking up a refrigerator. I'm not, because I'm going to be the one on the end trying to carry it up the steps and get it in. I'm like, let me be fine. When I tell you I can move it, I will move it. And then finally I was able to move it.
How did you move it? To use a strap or what?
We took it and I put it on a 2-wheel cart.
Okay.
And we rolled it to the house. I kind of got it down the steps real easy here, but when he got over to their house, their steps are kind of steep. And I just kind of wedged it and grabbed a hold of one of the bars, and I would pick up like this, and I had my kids on either side, so they would pick up from the bottom, so I wasn't carrying all the weight. So, and now I'm pretty good. So, you need out? Probably. So, all right, sir. Well, you know what? I'm not going to take more of your time here because I just realized it's 11 o'clock.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey man, this was an absolute blast, man. This was so much fun.
Oh, it was, and this is something we need to do again. You know, anytime you want to talk or whatever, let me know, and we'll get you on. Even if it's just, you know, talking about old con days and stuff like that. And
absolutely, I would love to do that. And maybe we can come up and do an in-store for Roadkill Rampage at some point.
Yeah, just let me. We'll figure it out and get it figured out and go from there. And like I said, I do appreciate, you know, like I said, 16-year-old Paul loved Superior 7. And to think that I love that book and, you know, met you guys at, you know, like an indie show or whatever. And then years later, you know, meeting you through, you know, the comic book conventions in here and becoming friends and stuff like that. It's to me, that's very cool. And I appreciate it. And you guys made a kid from Ohio who didn't think that was really possible for a kid from Ohio to do. It did do something. So I want you guys to know that. So
that's cool. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Thank you.
So, all right, sir. Well, I'm gonna let you have a good night. And
all right, buddy. I appreciate it. And tell Tina I said happy anniversary.
I will. I'll let her know.
All right,
thank
buddy.
you. Tell Tina I said hi too.
Go take him to pee.
Yes. You need to go outside. Go.
All right, buddy. Have a good one. We'll talk soon.
And that is all for tonight's episode of the Group Therapy Podcast. You can find more of Rodney. We will set his information up at the end, at the credits. And we will remember the Group Therapy Podcast is brought to you by Are You Game, the best comic book collectible shop in all of Pickle, Ohio, located at 124 North Sunset Drive, Pickle, Ohio, 45356. And you can watch me on my other show, Saturday Morning Serials, every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Or you can just watch it whenever. I don't care. So, or like this show, you can watch it whenever here. So take care, and I will see you guys in the next episode of the Group Therapy Podcast. Later.